Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions in the hot seat on Capitol Hill today, answering questions from colleagues during his Senate confirmation hearing. During opening statements today, Sessions outlined his priorities if appointed Attorney General in Trump's administration, talked about bridging the gap between policies and police and community, and defended his civil rights record. Regarding same-sex marriage and abortion, he said he would uphold the law set by the Supreme Court. Sessions is the first of Trump's cabinet picks to undergo the questioning. Later this afternoon, hearings will begin for retired Marine General John Kelly, as he has been chosen to lead the Department of Homeland Security. One America's John Hines caught up with Utah Senator Mike Lee, who was at this morning's hearing and is a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Good to see you. Yes, I'm with Senator Lee. He's just taken a break from the hearing. He, of course, serves with Senator Sessions on the Judiciary Committee. And Senator, talk a little bit about your thoughts about the hearing so far.
Senator Sessions is doing well. Senator Sessions is someone that I've worked with very closely for the 6 years I've been in the Senate, and I found him to be an extraordinary human being. He has a great love for the law, for the Constitution, for the rule of law, and I think he's handling the questions very well. I expect him to be confirmed.
Talk a little bit, you mentioned the rule of law. Talk about what you mean by the rule of law. One of the things I've heard is part of this process is trying to lay down a marker from Democrats about continuing, say, an Obama legacy, particularly with regard to immigration. But, of course, the Trump administration has a different view. Talk about that. Do you see some sparks coming up when they get into questions about so-called rule of law?
Yeah, so in this context, what that means is that ours is a government that operates on the basis of laws. Individuals vote for other individuals to represent them in government. The lawmaking entities of government then put in place laws, and those laws are then enforced by the executive branch. You want to make sure you have someone in a position like this one, someone occupying the office of Attorney General, to have a degree of independence, to look at the law and say, this is what the law says, we need to adhere to that. We need to make sure that the laws are followed, lest we become a country that lives under the rule of individual human beings rather than the rule of laws.
Do you anticipate any sparks from your Democratic colleagues on the committee? And if so, regarding particularly what issues would you say?
So far, we've seen some Democrats on the committee speaking out in ways that suggest a degree of opposition. To this point, I haven't heard them identify anything that amounts to a significant concern beyond perhaps the fact that they're upset that he doesn't share some of their policy viewpoints. I haven't heard them identify anything that would undercut his ability to serve effectively as Attorney General of the United States.
You mentioned just as you were coming up that there have been some protests to an unusual degree. Talk about that a little bit, sir.
Yeah, so periodically, every few minutes, it seems, we've got someone standing up inside the committee hearing, screaming, yelling things, talking about basically the fact that they don't like this administration or they don't like Senator Sessions, and trying to disrupt the hearing. This is unfortunate. It doesn't materially advance the ball. It doesn't enhance the dialogue. If anything, it cheapens the process. And I think it's unfair to Senator Sessions and to members of the committee. I understand people feel passionately, and they certainly have the right to express their views as they deem appropriate, consistent with the First Amendment. But inside of a hearing where government business is being conducted is not the place to do that if, in fact, your intent is to disrupt the hearing.
Talk a little bit about perhaps some of the more controversial issues like immigration. What do you anticipate happening when those come up?
Well, you know, I'm certain that there will be questions about immigration, in part because of the fact that immigration has been a controversial topic, and it's been a controversial topic as it relates to the current administration's approach to immigration laws. The use of prosecutorial discretion to justify non-enforcement of entire swaths of the immigration code. Now, because Senator Sessions is a man who believes in the rule of law, I think he will take a different approach than the current administration have taken. And for that reason, I suspect some Democrats might voice opposition to that. But here again, what we're looking at is someone who possesses exactly the characteristics that we ought to be looking for in an Attorney General. Someone who has a deep commitment to the rule of law, to the fact that words have meaning, our laws consist of words, you've got to figure out what that meaning is, and then not just ignore provisions of law that you don't like.
So thank you, sir. Finally, so the hearing could be a little bit bumpy, but I'm understanding that you foresee him getting a vote of approval. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I don't foresee any circumstance in which we do anything other than confirm Senator Sessions as the next Attorney General.
And what do you suppose the time frame would be on that, potentially him being approved and ready to actually go to work?
I hope and anticipate that he's someone we'll be able to confirm on day one. I think the President ought to be able to have his Attorney General in office, fully functioning by the end of the day, the same day that the President's inaugurated.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the time. That is Senator Mike Lee from Utah. He is a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, served with Senator Sessions on the committee, just stepped out of the hearing room, which is right behind us, to take a break and talk to One America News. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you.